Hello, America, and welcome to the Glenn Beck program and to The Blaze, where we are going to begin showing you tonight we are building a different kind of network and so much more. If you're tired of hearing about the problems over and over again with no hope, no plan, no real solution, no roadmap for action, well, you've come to the right place. Tonight, I'm going to begin a 5-day special to show you the future. Nobody has ever done this before, I think, in broadcast television. Well, there's been one, but you'll learn more about him tonight. This is not just about the future of the Blaze, not just the future of the entire TV industry. Believe it or not, revolutionizing how the news is delivered and how a network is run is the smallest of our many, many dreams. All this week, I'm going to give you a glimpse into those dreams. I do this knowing that some will mock, others will dismiss, but that's okay. Every era of change has those who are resistant to it, and those who like the comfort of the status quo, or those who wish to spend their free time and their creative time mocking. It's time to stop worrying about what others are doing and wonder, why are we here? What is it we are supposed to do? I believe there are more Americans out there that believe as I do, that there is something better waiting for us just over the horizon, and that it is ours for the taking if we just set out to find it, to discover it, or to build it. If you believe we shouldn't just settle for what we have, if you believe in thinking out of the box, if you believe not only in thinking out of the box, but shattering the box altogether, if you believe the only limits are the ones that we set for ourselves, then you are in exactly the right place today. Talking about problems isn't the solution. The president's latest nominations and the debt and everything else leading the news today, the real news will cover that. The latest on that tonight in about 60 minutes. That's one of the great things about owning your own network. I can spend an hour with you focused on the future. When I first got into television, I got into it for a different reason. And then I went to Fox, and I took the Fox job because I believe in something. I wrote Common Sense during the Christmas vacation, right before I started at Fox. I believed we were in trouble, and I still do. And I used to think that waking people up was the answer. But November 6th proved to me that there are far too many people that would rather sleep, and maybe not even rather sleep. They're just tired of things that don't make sense. They don't believe in anything or anybody anymore. I told you to take the 40-day and 40-night challenge for a reason, to find God. But more importantly, once you find God, you can find your why. Why do you do the things you do? Why do you care about these things? People must ask that, and they must look at you from time to time and think, why? What is wrong with that person? Here's my why. See, it's not what you do or how you do it, but it's why you do the things that you do that is so important. I do it because I believe sincerely in the ideals set out in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, of liberty, self-empowerment, of a creator, of personal responsibility, and freedom of conscience. When we reconnect with our why, and there's enough of it, just a community of us, we will change the current of the culture, and we will win. I don't know what a win even looks like at this point, but we will preserve and then expand man's freedom to pursue his own happiness. Our problems are so daunting, they are so massive, and they are so interconnected that cutting one strand, it's like a spider's web. Cutting one doesn't untangle the web. You got to cut them all. Now, I've understood this instinctively for a while. Spit yourself out of the system, but I didn't even know what that meant. Tonight, I'm going to show you, over the next 5 days, what I have been working on since you and I met on the mall in Washington, D.C. We've been looking for an answer. We've been looking to spit ourselves out of the system, but we had nowhere to go. If you've been looking for a Galt's Gulch, my friend, you may have come to the right place. We think alike. We're heading in the same direction for similar destinations. That's why I look at you as a subscriber of this network, not as a mere revenue stream statistic that the press always reports on, but as a partner. I told you last week, that's why I think you trust me and I trust you. I know your why and you know mine. You are helping me build this network, but I have been biting my tongue for so long because I have a lot to say to you, and I haven't wanted to say it for a myriad of reasons. But this is more than a network. We're not here just to relay some news and make a buck. We are here to dream. We're here to shatter the box, pave a new path, set a new course, and build a new community of Americans. This week, I'm going to show you these things that are on this chalkboard here. Tonight, we're going to spend why, the history of American vision. Tomorrow, the information age, global news, and the beginnings of research and development. Wednesday, see the dreams in the labs on farming, energy, and advertising. Thursday, you don't want to miss Galt's Gulch and the Man in the Moon. And then Friday, just the two of us, where I can hear from you on what you think I may have missed or what you think of some of these crazy dreams. These are all in what I call the American Dream Labs. Currently, there are Dream Labs, and this is new to our staff, in 3 different locations. There's the Dream Labs that kind of exists here in this building in Dallas. It's mainly my office. And that's the one where we direct our work on energy, education, and high tech. We're building a place for that now. In Salt Lake City, we are just announcing today, we have just finished a build out on an entertainment history, and believe it or not, how this fits in, farming Dream Lab. And all the way on the other side of the globe, in New Zealand, we have reached out to a group of amazing people in New Zealand that are working on a project with us on Tesla and entertainment that we will tell you about later this week. But tonight we're going to focus on the history of vision in the American Dream Labs.
American dream. Oh, the future is coming. Oh, to the American dream.
This, what I'm going to show you this week, all started on a vacation that I had about 3 o'clock in the morning. We know all of the problems with the news, but we plan to solve as many of those problems as we can. What you see so far in this massive studio here in Dallas, Texas, this studio complex, and the studios that we now have in 2 different locations in New York City, that's not cheap, is us just getting started. The internet, what you see now, the Blaze, is about to become an international news agency. We're currently in negotiations in 3 separate countries that you will learn about later this week and more in the next few weeks. We'll also tell you a little bit about technology. I'm going to show you technology on the market now that will blow your mind. In fact, here's a piece of technology that you may never have seen, but we felt it was important that we spend just a few minutes on it this week because it's this kind of technology that is now available that will raise questions on how much danger we face because of technology. And I don't mean like, oh, this is a spooky machine. This is a replicator. But it will change everything, patents, and so much more. The world is truly about to change, and we know that here. And I am not going to let somebody else redesign the world without me involved or without you involved, because I don't like the global planners. Here, we're going to push the envelope and look for new, creative, innovative things in more than one area. I will show you how we can master technology and utilize it. Here in Dallas, we are working on energy. We are working also on food, but we're also working on digital features that will blow your mind. If I can just find the right partners, I want to show you something. This is how far technology has come. This is technology from the 1940s. If I were going to make this show back in the 1930s and 40s, I would have used something like that. That's the big dolly that had film and everything else. And the camera was so loud, that's actually not a camera, that's the metal casing that the camera would go in because it was too loud. You'd hear it. Just 10 years later, television came about. This is one of, I think, only 3 or 4 of these cameras in the world that exist. This is an actual physical camera. You can see the NBC markings on it on this side. But this is the 1950s. I Love Lucy was done on a camera like this. The Price is Right was done on a camera just like that. But this week we'll show you what cameras are on the horizon, and that's not even going to last. We're working on digital things for the capture and delivery that will blow your mind. We're also working on education. That one is a tough one. And we're working on entertainment ideas that no one has dared to explore. And while some of them are exploring some in entertainment live, at least, they miss the point. They miss history. They miss the truth, the hard facts, if you will, and they miss the heart. While the dreamers continue to dream, there are shorter-term projects that you will see also very soon, live events that will touch your soul. One of them we've told you just a bit about on July 4th this year, somewhere out west, which we will be announcing soon. We ask you to consider this. You can turn off your brain and watch some fireworks that are beautiful and great, and you can listen to that James Brown song, and Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen for about the 15th billionth time. Or you can spend your 4th of July weekend with us and help build a community and see a story of America as told like no other person has ever told it or showed it to you before. All of our dreams and our goals take time. As much as I wish we had $10 million for a digital experiment that I have been talking to my staff about this week. I'm sorry, I'm Congress, and I can't raise my debt ceiling and print $10 million, and I will not go into debt. Everything that you're seeing is being funded by me and you. Of course, with the 3D printer, and this did cross my mind, I guess we could make our own currency, but that would, of course, be wrong. Tonight, I'm rolling the dice because I'm going to tell you some things that seem crazy, and I'm also giving our competitors a leg up by showing you what we are in development on. But I think it's riskier not to share it with you because there, A, needs to be a light at the end of the tunnel, and the things that we are going to develop and some of the things that we are working on, if you don't I'm concerned about energy. What we're working on in energy, we need witnesses. We need mass traction quickly. And we also need your support. But we'll get there. And I don't know how, but we'll get there. Vince Lombardi said, life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the one who thinks he can. How true it is. The little guy on the block isn't always the little guy. It's what's up here that matters. We're looking for partners to dream with. If you're already a subscriber, you already are a partner. I can't offer, people come up to me, and we have people that come to our door here at the studios and say, I want to get a job. I think I have 250 employees now. I don't even know because we are hiring so fast. But I'm not looking for people who say, I want to work for you yet. I'm looking for partners, people who see the dream and say, I want to walk in the same direction and I can do something too. And we build it together. It's really Galt's Gulch, where we're not connected, but we are. Little things that you could do as a partner. If you have one subscription, could you convince a friend to buy a subscription? Because as you will see by the end of the week, what we're talking about is expensive. There were many people that were shocked to learn last week that the Blaze was trying to purchase current TV. We certainly didn't want it for the programming because we would have shut it off the instant the sale went through. We were looking for the access to 60 million homes. We need to be seen by more people. It sold for $500 million. They overpaid a lot for it. And they thought it was hilarious when we left Fox to do a little internet show. They have no idea what the vision is. But as I warned then, they will beg for the time when I was only on an hour every day, 5 hours a week. We didn't win that bid, and it's a good thing. It ended up going to Osama bin Laden's former propaganda network, Al Jazeera, and no one seemed to care, which is even more of a reason for increased urgency. But this week, we want to put you on notice that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Somebody is doing something. Somebody is dreaming big. Somebody is actually doing something big. Hank Reardon is about to pour some steel. And it will fundamentally transform us back into the people that will deserve the citizenship of the United States of America. Some of those dreams next. This week is all about the future, but to understand the future, we need to understand the past. I want to show you where I'm coming from so you can see the big picture. Our staff has been reading, these are just some of the books that I've been consuming here lately on Desi Arnaz and Nikola Tesla. By the way, this is an unbelievable book. Walt Disney, this is the best one. Edison. The more I read about the people who changed everything, I realize that people like you and me are in good company. There's a section of Broadway in New York that is nicknamed the Great White Way. I had no idea. Why was it called the Great White Way? It was called this before real lighting even happened. They were still using gas lights. The Great White Way was called that because it was lit by arc lighting. Arc lighting, they thought at the time, would be the standard. Not for homes because it was way too dangerous. It was nasty, smoky, carbon, just two pieces of carbon with huge voltage running in between as the carbon would burn down. It was dangerous, it was expensive, and it's really ugly, ugly light. Thomas Edison and Tesla hated arc lighting. But Thomas Edison wasn't the one to settle for the status quo. You know, he didn't really come up with the incandescent light bulb. He just knew there had to be a better way, but he couldn't make it work financially. When a friend actually came to him and said, "See that ugly white light? There's a better way. There's a next generation light bulb, Tom." Well, he saw it and he knew. He took one look at the incandescent light bulb and started planning. But almost before he even started to plan, he just declared. He spoke it into existence. He said, "I will light the streets of New York City with incandescent light bulbs." Well, everybody all around the globe said he was crazy. He said, "We will make electricity so cheap that only the rich will burn candles." Nobody believed him. He spoke the light bulb into existence without knowing how he was going to do it. The only people that believed him were the people on the trains, the working people. All the great scholars around the world didn't believe him. And he went to work trying to devise a better, longer-lasting light bulb. But it was a daunting task. The typical incandescent light bulb was extremely expensive, used a ton of energy, and it didn't last very long. I mean, when I say very long, I mean minutes. His early attempts to create a better, longer-lasting bulb failed. And that's when the critics piled on. In the New York Times in 1881, they said that Edison as a company, laid a considerable quantity of wire. But as far as lighting the downtown district is concerned, well, they're as far away from that as ever. In fact, they laid the same wire 8 different times. They couldn't get the wire right. In a later article, the New York Times wrote, much grumbling has been done lately by businessmen and residents of the district bound by Nassau, Wall and South and Spruce Streets, because there seems to be no prospect of the Edison Electric Light Company putting in the lights that they promised to have burning by last November. He knew he could do it. In the end, he did. He wasn't sitting around drawing pictures. He had made the largest private lab in the world. It took up 2 entire city blocks, and it contained what was described as a stock of almost every conceivable material. The press investigated, of course, to see how serious he was about that, and they found that he was more than serious. The labs, they reported, contained just a few of these things in 1887. 8,000 kinds of chemicals, every kind of screw made, every size needle, every kind of cord or wire, hair from humans, horses, hogs, cows, rabbits, goats, minks, camels, silk in every texture, cocoons, various kinds of hooves, shark's teeth, deer horns, tortoise shells, cork, resin, varnished and oil, ostrich feathers, peacock's tail, amber, rubber, all kinds of ores. The list went on and on and on and on. They had everything there. Everything they needed. 2 blocks. It was actually this. This is the original. We never made this because it was estimated to cost us $4 million. And by the time I made the prototype for it, this was the set. This was 3 stories. This rocket ship here behind. This was modeled after the Edison laboratory. But by the time we got there and I saw the price tag of that, I realized, A, it shouldn't be just a showcase to show new invention. It should be an actual laboratory, and our money would be much better well spent in building a place where we do, not just show. There's a reason why Walt Disney wanted to call Main Street in Disneyland Edison Square, part of it at least. He wanted to show the American people invention and innovation. But Disney was an awful lot like Edison. He started his own private laboratory. It was called WED Enterprises. This was separate from the Walt Disney Studios because he was frustrated with the studios at the time. He used it to launch something that we all now know as Imagineering.
We call it Imagineering, the blending of creative imagination with technical know-how.
This is where audio animatronics came from. This is where everything came from. Today, Imagineering holds more than 100 patents in special effects, ride systems, interactive technology, live entertainment, fiber optics, advanced audio systems, everything. Just like Edison, this was Walt Disney's private company. His brother would say it was his work away from work, where the dreamer was allowed to purely dream and then do. But because of these 2 men, and there are many more like them, Edison and Disney, the world that we now live in, the world that we inherited, is different. And I'm telling you about them tonight because it's important to know history. It will give you a little better picture of where I'm headed and what we're doing. We want to create a place where innovation happens. I'm not claiming that we're going to, create cold fusion or anything like that, but what we are doing is looking at the very best ideas and new technologies from various industries. See whose goals align with ours. We will continually be introducing, testing, and demonstrating and improving on those ideas. We want to restart the engine of American ingenuity and revive the imagination of the American free enterprise system and show it can be done, not just to Americans, but to the whole world. It can be done with hard work and integrity, and it can be done for the right why, all the right reasons. My whys again, our way of life is at stake. Our country is at stake. And quite honestly, it's why we were all sent here. Humans are explorers. The first question every child asks, and the one that drives every parent nuts for a very long time, is the most important. We should never squelch it. Why? We stop asking ourselves this because we become arrogant, or we are afraid, or we don't care anymore. Why? Why do we do it that way? Why can't it be different? Why? When we come back, a look into the fantasy of the past to give you a glimpse of what you will see on Thursday, which I'm sure at some point will be called the folly of the future. Next. As you know, I am the steward of many great pieces of American history, from George Washington's compass to something I'm going to show you here in a second. The weekend of Restoring Love, I won an auction that I never thought I would win. And I want to show it to you because it goes to lay the premise for what I'm going to show you this week. I'm collecting American history for a reason. And there's a piece of American history that is remarkable. Walt Disney, when he first started WED Enterprises, he did it because he was working on all kinds of crazy things and nobody understood why, and he couldn't get anybody on the bandwagon. And so one weekend he did what's called the Weekend Prospectus, and he hand painted it. He colorized it with Herb Ryman, and his secretary was called in for that weekend, and he dictated what Disneyland was supposed to be like. They went and they pitched Disneyland, and the banks said no at first, and it was left at the bank. This is the original prospectus that was carried to the banks by Walt and Roy. And as you see, the map that he made is the map that you see behind me now, blown up. You're going to hold this here for a second. Eileen, you just take it and fold this map back up while I show this map. The reason why I want to show you this, it's important, is this is the original, this is what Walt thought Disney was going to look like. And it looks pretty normal. The train is going in the wrong direction. This is the railroad station, and it looks the Opera House in the town. There's the Opera House, which I think is over here. Town Square is over here now. This is all pretty normal, except this isn't there. That is a church in the middle of the town Main Street. I'm currently trying to get into the Disney vaults and see if I can read his diaries from this point in history, because he changed a lot of things for I don't know what reason. But here's Holiday Park, that doesn't exist. This is Lilliputian land, which is kind of like storybook land, but also, if you read the description in the prospectus, it sounds more like it's a small world. Here's Tomorrowland, the world of tomorrow. The Pirates of the Caribbean will be over here, but that was 10 years away at least. This is just a stagecoach, but this is pretty much it. He put a circus in. It only lasted, I think, a couple of weeks, and he said people don't want to come to see something they can see in their own hometown, and so he closed it down. Just kind of a funny remark now. They've just reopened it in Disney World. He was a visionary, but he also didn't know exactly what things were going to look like in the end. When I won the prospectus, this has never been copied. This has never really been shown in its entirety, and they don't do it because it will hurt the value of the whole thing if people just make copies of it. I gave a copy to my staff that works with me here. And none of you are allowed to copy it and give it to anybody else. But I gave it to him for Christmas because I explained some of the things that I'll be explaining this week. But the first page is Walt Disney says sometime in 1955, he will present for the people of the world and to all children of all ages a new experience in entertainment. But it was this one phrase that stuck out to me when I read it the first time. I don't think Disney accomplished this. I think he later tried to do it with Epcot. But Epcot isn't what he saw either. I think the man saw the future. He said Disneyland will be based upon and dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America. And it will be uniquely equipped to dramatize these dreams and facts and send them forth as a source of courage and inspiration to all of the world. I read that and I thought to myself, my gosh, that's exactly what I feel we're supposed to do. A couple more tidbits of history so you understand the history of vision, and you'll be able to put things into perspective when we come back in a minute. I spent my time, I've been to Disneyland now, I think 3 times this year. 2 days just in and out, and then I spent my vacation at Disney World. And I have spent a good deal of time there. And if you really want to see Disney, do yourself a favor. At some point, people will look at you weird, but actually nobody ever looks at you because everybody's looking at too many other things. Look at the park from down on one knee, because the entire thing was designed to be viewed by somebody this height. It is a meticulous project. And if you look at the original 1953, the park opened in 1955. If you look at the original, there is no real technology here. This was not a bunch of gift shops. This was a marketplace of real people doing real things. You could find a real hat maker and a real watchmaker. This is the Jungle Cruise, which actually ends up over here. The circus was gone. There is nothing here but stagecoach rides and rides with horses and the steam train and the steamships. This was a frontier shooting gallery over here. This was more just a showcase of things that were coming tomorrow. This wasn't built. This is just the little kiddie rides. And Holiday Park was a celebration of Christmas or whatever the holiday was. But you'll see there's no audio animatronics. There's no real rides here per se that we think of with Disney. That's because when he started putting this together, it didn't exist. I don't know if you saw the movie Hugo, but the movie Hugo was actually about a filmmaker. And in the movie Hugo, he finds this animated man, this man that a watchmaker had made. That was the rage in the 1800s, to be able to make automatons, things that would move, but they were all just gears inside. That's the beginning of Walt Disney's fascination with audio animatronics. But it started well before computers were able to do any of these things. He thought, I wonder if I could make a man out of gears that could really move and make him dance. Here's Walt in the 1960s talking about it.
This is what we call our Imagineering department. It's where we dream up our new projects.
Audio animatronics was an idea of Walt Disney's. He became interested in taking animation from a 2-dimensional form and moving it into a 3-dimensional form. He experimented with a number of ways to move small figures. Early on, Walt filmed Buddy Ebsen doing a dance routine. He then worked with engineers to duplicate the dance with a small figure manipulated with cams and wires.
It's an amazing machine. I just saw it here a couple of weeks ago. It's an enormous machine of just gears and a little teeny stage about this big that Walt made himself. The reason why I show you this is to preface this week with this thought, that while Walt Disney was engaged in many small projects, the Dancing Man and building little teeny towns, he was building little miniature towns. He didn't even know why. At first, building miniature trains. At first, he did it because it fascinated him. But what he was really working on was that. He just didn't know it. I'm telling you this story because I'm working on some things now that when all is said and done may end up looking like that Dancing Man that you've never seen or most likely never even heard, or the tiny little towns that you've never seen or heard of that he made, or the prospectus that you've probably seen for the very first time tonight. I don't know. As I stood in a field, as I told you 2 years ago, and I was praying, why am I here? I have no idea what this is all eventually going to lead to. Even after Disney became a reality, it led to something even bigger and even more ambitious. Let me show you something else that maybe you've never seen before.
That's the starting point for our experimental prototype community of tomorrow. And now, where do we go from these preliminary plans and sketches? Well, a project like this is so vast in scope that no one company alone can make it a reality. But if we can bring together the technical know-how of American industry and the creative imagination of the Disney organization, I'm confident we can create right here in Disney World a showcase to the world of the American free enterprise system. I believe we can build a community that more people will talk about and come to look at than any other area in the world.
I still believe that. Walt's vision changed and was adapted in numerous ways because he died. But he did a lot of plans. EBCOT, Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. Disney World finally became a reality, but it doesn't look like he thought it would.
Let's look at another view of Epcot's transportation hub and see how traffic flows through the heart of the city on 3 separate levels. At the bottom of the stack is the truck route, reserved for supply vehicles. Trucks will have easy access to all loading docks and service elevators for the delivery of commercial goods. The middle level is the automobile throughway, exclusively for cars. Adjacent to the roadway are parking areas for the convenience of hotel guests. For the motorist just driving through, no stoplight will ever slow the constant flow of traffic through the center of Epcot.
Why did he do this? He did it because I believe he saw our time. He saw that our communities would break down and things just were built for a different time. 40 years in now, 40 years of Epcot, and it doesn't look like that at all. It isn't that. It's an amusement park. I told you when I left Fox, I'm entering my Disney phase. I don't know where, maybe the New York Times or something, where I said that. But that's where I'm at. The first part of my career was heavily influenced by the lessons that I learned from Orson Welles, both good and bad. The bad lessons that Orson has to teach is let go, man, let go. He destroyed himself because he couldn't let go, and he took on the biggest titan out. He took on the George Soros of his day and would not let go. And in the end, he died a broken man. But the good lesson to learn from Orson Welles can be seen in a movie called Me and Orson Welles. Orson Welles was an amazing man because he never took no for an answer. He was innovative in everything he did. Watch this from that movie.
See if you can keep this warm. Beck, tang off my pineapple juice. Rehearsal at 6:30, people, and we're gonna need everybody. John, this kid's gonna play Lucius. The other son of a bitch is fired.
Orson, we positively have to commit to an opening date.
Thursday, I told you. We'll let Tallulah open on Wednesday in her $3 million Hindenburg of Antony and Cleopatra. Then we open Thursday. A lean, brutal Caesar. Sonia, teach the kid the part. Know it by the time I come back, Junior, or you're fired.
I'm Sonia. Sonia spelled with a J, but pronounced like a Y. Sonia Jones.
Have you met Miss
Probably
Jones?
the 100th person who's sung me that. Mercury? This is she. Oh, Mr. Ingram, Orson left just 2 minutes ago. He took an ambulance to beat the traffic. Well, you know, according to Orson, there's no law in the books that says you have to be sick to take an ambulance.
Stop there.
Of course, that's according to
This is true about Orson Welles. He wanted to be in a radio drama, and he was doing a stage play, and the radio drama was in between his two performances on a Saturday. And they said, you can't do it because we can't get you to the theater, to the radio studios in time. And he said, well, that's ridiculous. There has to be a way. And just then an ambulance went by on the street, and he stopped and he looked at Houseman, his partner, and said, find out if you need to be sick to ride in one of those things. And so they hired an ambulance and turned on the siren, and that's how he got to the radio station to do the radio play. He never took no for an answer. And he understood, as weird as it was, his why. And he was never afraid to ask why not. That part of me exists. It's very much intact. Will we dare to dream bigger than anyone has? Will we take no for an answer? The scope of what I'm going to show you this week of what we want to accomplish in the American Dream Labs is enormous. Food, farming, energy, transportation, healthcare, news, information, technology, you name it. But we will not limit the range of our innovation. But it is going to take a massive effort. I need to take a leap of faith with you this week, and you with me. As we reveal these things, as I share these ideas and speak them into existence, we are going to need your help to bring them fully to life. To quote Walt Disney, a project like this, so vast in scope, no one company alone can make it a reality. But if we combine the can-do spirit and self-determination of a conservative-minded America and the dynamic creativity of this company, I'm sure that we will build with the American Dream Labs a shining example of American exceptionalism and stewardship that will provide courage and hope for all of the world to see. We can create a system that more and more people around the world will want to imitate and want to see. And with your help, I'm convinced that this partnership will change the face of entertainment, education, information, and so much more. Perhaps not permanently, but for the years to come. Like Walt, we may end up with something that looks vastly different in the end. Not that, but rather that. I don't know. But it will be worth the ride if you'll take the leap of faith with me.
And with your cooperation, I'm sure this experimental prototype community of tomorrow can influence the future of city living for generations to come. It's an exciting challenge, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for everyone who participates. Speaking for myself and the entire Disney organization, we're ready to go right now.
We begin tomorrow, and we begin with news and information and scratch the surface of technology. And speaking for myself and the entire Mercury organization, we're ready to go right now. Can't wait to get started. We're just joking here on the set of, and Glenn Beck says he's Walt Disney. It's going to begin. That's the history of vision that I wanted to share with you tonight. On tomorrow's program, information, global news, and the latest in technology and where we're headed. Then Wednesday, see the dreams and see the labs inside. Thursday, a lot. And Friday, just you and me with questions. It's a don't miss week. Tell a friend, sign a friend into the dream, and help me build the community of tomorrow. Yeah. From Dallas, good night, America.
To the American dream.